the 10th episode of the PODI-CAST, and hey, we're celebrating in true fashion. And shout out to bartender for the beverages, and the whole team also. We got everybody sorted out. So
I didn't do well. Ghetto was never my thing, to be honest.
So what's going on at this point?
So I get to go to Ghetto. What I used to do is I used to think a lot about Mike.
Hey.
I always I wanted to be like Mike. I wanted to do what he does. But obviously, Gela has to come first. You have to finish Gela.
You can't grow up overnight.
Hey, so I remember when textbook I used to write a lot of names that produced by BK Proctor. I used to do that like a lot. Right? A bunch of names that 1 to 10, 1 to 20.
Say one day I'll be making these tracks.
Did I really gift? Or was it bought?
So did the president buy the shoe? you can't do that. Did he buy the shoe?
Yeah, the shoes were bought.
So how does this happen? I mean, they make the call. They were seeing you. They were out there.
Let me tell you how it happened. Right?
Like that.
People of different identities. Podcast with PODI-CAST.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy SCAR, and it's the 10th episode of the PODI-CAST, and hey, we're celebrating in true fashion. And shout out to bartender for the beverages, and the whole team also. We got everybody sorted out. So now, our guest today, who happens to be a really good friend and an amazing talent right here in BW. He's gonna help me with these things because he's been celebrating a whole lot recently. So homeboy, really, I'm sure ladies and gentlemen, in the house we got BK Proctor.
What up, my man? How are you, Papa?
Hi, Papa. Huh? You've been celebrating a lot.
Like I twist, Papa.
Hey, man, a black label.
Yeah.
Can I want to do it? You see, I might get it.
I hope Baba is shaker because yeah, but
let me get the glasses for us. So 10 episodes of the PODI-CAST.
Oh yeah.
And we got our boy BK Proctor.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, Papa. Yeah. So you guys got your drinks ready also. So yeah, we're happy out here. And my homies in the house. What's up, Kana?
Thank you so much for having me, Papa.
No, thank you for coming through.
Hey, today it's hello,
Hey, no.
Cheers to the 10th episode, man.
Thank you so much, Papa. Yeah. Thank you so much for being in the house. And I want to start off with the very fact that you just opened your...
This is the third one. 3.
In how long? Like
1, 2, 3.
I'm counting. And these are just not regular stores. You don't just get into a mall and hire space. How do you go about choosing which places are going to be the ones to stock your things?
I don't like the big malls. Why? Like when the rental is ridiculous.
Hey.
And then I will be the idea is we try to create a shopping experience for our customers. So we want you to come where we are.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is not to be in the big malls where window shop. When you come there, you come only intentional. So
who taught you that shit? Because first of
all, I don't think I learned it through. I mean, we started go Oasis. You remember it, Oasis?
Yeah,
that's like in Tlokweng, all the way in Tlokweng. But people used to really come to Tlokweng where we were. So I was like, okay. So a lot of people don't necessarily need to see us go Dimolo. They will come wherever we are. As long as now we focus on the advertising and the marketing, and then we just beef up that.
Yeah.
they will come wherever we are.
That's actually really, really brilliant.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it that way. It's about the actual product.
Not the,
yeah.
I mean, location really matters, Wabana, in terms of when you look at when you do your business plan.
Yeah.
For example, when you do your business plan, I mean, we have a 5-year strategic plan in place, which keeps on evolving.
Okay.
Depending on or the trend.
Okay.
But positioning also really matters also.
Kind of back and listen here, man. I've hung out with you when we're doing the music stuff. This stuff, because you were usually the silent cat.
You were usually, and I still am.
You still are the silent cat. But I'm like, yo, you have thought this out.
Yeah,
you have really, really thought this out. And I mean, for most people who don't know what the BK stands for, and I usually call you with that name because, like, I really think, like, I try to humanize celebrities.
Yeah,
because I know they're humans too.
Yes.
Hey, so you are Bokang.
Yes,
that's the BK for Proctor, and you started off as a rapper. A music producer, and Basement Records.
Yes.
When I first met you, it was behind Camp Hill, Orange.
Go Vista.
It was behind Vista.
Yeah.
Your uncle Mike
Proctor
called me up. He told me, "Yo, I got this nephew."
Yeah.
Mike believed. I was like, "All right, cool. I'll come through and check this homie out." How did you end up behind Vista? We did an instrumental, dog.
Because I grew up in Francistown, right? I was born in Francistown, and I grew up listening to my my uncles, who my mentors, Mike Proctor and George Proctor. I grew up. Okay. I mean the founders of Ghetto Flavor, Ghetto Flavor with Brando.
We're gonna get to all of that.
So I grew up listening to them and them making music. Mike was like one of the dope producers that I really admired.
Okay.
So this is how I started my let's say my music career.
Yeah.
He had a studio, for sure. He set up a studio and then he recorded like the ads and Bodebo, Ghetto Flavor and them.
That's the one he set up behind?
Yeah, it's called Vista at the time.
Okay.
So now I was just there behind the scenes. And then how about Chinese? Okay, no,
yeah.
So every time I hate like now clean up the place and then clean up keyboarding, but at the time when I read EJ in the drag and drop. So
no, those beats were made for us though.
Yeah.
Already
yes.
But like, so this is how you created your style.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Ghetto Flavor is actually where Brando. I first saw Brando as a musician, but now look Ignition at first.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about Mike Proctor and also his involvement in like BW music. At first, Mike, I mean, he was a producer for your Ignition, Ghetto Flavor, as a manager as well, road manager.
Yeah.
And then later on, he's at Yarona FM.
Yeah.
As one of the first guys he was pretty much the guy grandpa music.
Yeah, I remember he had grandpa one of the rooms. I think they were occupying one of the rooms more grandpa at the time. I think 99.
Well, early because no all music here. It was just the radio station that we heard. Later music he had. How important was Mike to your music career, for you even getting into the music career, and how did he help you out?
Mike really believed, like you're saying. He saw a potential in me. Initially, I was like, rap, but no, you can't rap. So
bars.
So I'm going to rap, boss. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? Just try making music, making beats, making songs. Of course you can't rap, but you can obviously put together different people come and rap on your beats.
Yeah.
So he saw. I think he saw at the earliest that no, I think this guy had to rap. He can just be a producer or something.
Yeah.
Mare, he really influenced me a lot because obviously most of the people he brought in, people like you, people like Brendo, people like Bokubio to come in to jump on those beats was solely because of the relationship you had with him.
But when we got there, they were dope. When we got there, the jams were dope. And
so I used to listen to the albums, and then I was like, no, but I think I should do something different from this. So I used to listen a lot to the albums, and I was like, now I need to find my own sound. Find my own sound. So that's how I really, really started, because I was looking up to him. He was really doing well. And, from transitioning from being, Mike is a quantity surveyor. But, when he left Orapa, he said, I want to pursue music. And then now when he left music, he said, I want to do like advertising and marketing with those jingles and stuff. And then later on when he said, BK, there you go. You continue with this. So that's where
crazy.
I took it.
But that's what I want to ask about Mike, because I think his guidance of you has always been in a way or other artists were never able to think in the way that he's always guided you in a way that you could be a business rather than just being the guy on the stage. Because like how I saw you own the studio. You are recording the adverts. You are also making sure that ownership was a very, very important thing. How do you
that much? He really taught me a lot, because he's a businessman, as you know.
And I want to talk about.
And he's a shrewd businessman.
No, I've never seen him take an L. No, I've never seen him take an L at all. I want to talk to you in Francistown. Coming up in Francistown. I think. How do you see Francistown in the guy that you are today? How did it mold you into
Francistown?
The guy you are?
Because when I grew up in Francistown, 50-50. I'll say half of my life I grew up in Francistown, and half of it I grew up here. So obviously, I'm the eldest amongst 4.
Okay.
So I have a younger brother, my 2 little sisters.
Okay.
My 2 little sisters are Nemono, go Ireland, go Zambia.
Okay.
And then so we grew up with my mom, who's my late mom now. We grew up with my in like a family. India uncle, brother, sister. What do you call this? Immediate family. What do you call it?
Extended.
Yes. Nuclear.
Kind of nuclear. Or confused about. My nephew the other day came through. And Horado was an assignment. Your family, your nuclear family. And his nuclear family is a little crazy. Because that much. His mom is there. My mom is there. His grandfather is there. I'm there. So I think Kubisa do already nuclear family. That just depends on where.
I would say immediate family. So so we grew up with my grandmother. My grandmother still stays in Francistown.
Okay.
So you know how grandmothers are. Obviously, discipline is of the highest or at the highest level. So we grew up like that. So and also a lot to respect other people. You respect, you love other people like you love yourself. We were taught all that. But when I moved to Gaborone, I came I think 12 years old.
Okay.
To come and do my standard 6.
Okay.
Go Botswana Primary, go Khale View.
Botswana Primary.
Go Khale.
Okay. Yes. And then you went to Marulamanzi.
No, I went to Tlogatloga.
Yes. Okay.
And then I went to Tlogatloga. Then I didn't do well. I went to Khabane Private. Go Khabane.
But I want to go back when how did you find Khabane? Because a lot of those kids, no, I am never
problem.
Hey, so no Saud.
Sure.
For sure, no Saud.
Okay, because obviously peer pressure and the influence of others.
So when you did get to Khabane, did you do well?
I didn't do well. Skela was never my thing, to be honest.
So what's going on at this point?
So I get a girl. What I used to do is I used to think a lot about Mike.
Hey.
I always I wanted to be like Mike. I wanted to do what he does. But obviously this girl has to come first. You have to finish girl.
You can't grow up overnight.
Hey, so I remember when I textbook I used to write a lot of names that produced by BK Proctor. I used to do that like a lot. Right? A bunch of names that 1 to 10, 1 to 20.
Say one day I'll be making these tracks.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
So that's how my love Tota really started on me for the music industry.
You lost your mom at a very young age as well, and how did that affect you and your family?
Because I was young at the time, my siblings were young. The beauty about our family, we are together. Yeah. So like for example, when my mom passed away, I moved to my aunt's place in Block 5. So I was staying in Block 5 from the age of 12.
Jesus, when you were becoming a teenager.
Yeah. So so.
Yeah,
but so it wasn't really.
So
much
you guys
of
were separated, like you.
Yeah, me and my siblings. Yeah.
Yes.
But then they remained in Francistown. Now I came to Gabs. So now I finished my school. But then they finished their school, and then they came to Gabs later in the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to get into you on the Basement Records because now Basement Records. You ended up winning. In 2009, Botswana Music Union Producer of the Year. Yeah. How early into your producing was this? Like, do you remember some of the songs that
I think
that won that?
I mean, the first ever production that I ever made was in 2007. Yeah, with O'Neill, DJ O'Neill.
Which one was this one?
Baragain one.
That was a jam. How did you meet O'Neill?
O'Neill, because O'Neill, when I see Gobe, Gobe is a friend of Bob Mike. I mean, I would say Gobe looks at Bob Mike as big brother. So I was actually sharing an office with Gobe.
Okay.
Gobe said, "Can I stay with O'Neill? Go Block 5, so I can bring him to come and listen to your stuff." And then I said, "Okay."
This one you're trying to make your path now.
So what I'll do is I'll compile maybe 6 to 10 beats because at the time when you ready beats like I was making beats every single day. Like I think I don't know how many beats I had. So I would compile like my favorite beats allowed to say, okay, hard like a mutu sat.
Yeah.
At the time he was on radio. I think he was at Yarra FM.
Because like he was really unorthodox in the way that he did his stuff. And even him making songs, like we didn't expect it.
Yeah, I know.
But the production was so dope that the song caught on. You know what I mean? So why didn't
it was actually my first ever track to hear on radio.
Because
at the time.
Because now it's home.
Obvious.
When it's home.
So you have a radio personality doing obviously the song will play.
That's a gem. You see what I mean? But so
leading to 2009, I think I had produced I think 85% of the Okasi anthem, Okasi mixtape.
The mixtape, yeah.
It was called the Okasi AKFM.
I think I rapped on your beat. I guess.
Yes, you did.
I rapped on your beat. Yeah.
I mean, so that was a double album.
Dude.
I think it had over 50 songs.
And you did the core of that thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that with your relationship with Okasi, how did that come together? I mean, here you are, now your track is playing on the radio. Yeah. Now are you at Commerce Park now or are you still
we are in Commerce Park.
Now you've moved to Commerce Park.
Yeah.
How then do you link up with Bunny and Ludo from Okasi?
So Bob Bunny, they heard of my songs. They heard of a few songs.
Manyola.
Obviously. Also, what I did is I'll make songs. The songs that I've made, I'll put my CD and then we'll give out to people who I thought could influence
work something out. Yeah.
So they really liked my production.
Yeah.
So one day they call. I remember Ludo called me
and
said, we want to come to your studio. Okay, they came through. They came with that nice
condo,
car.
It was a condo and it had like all kinds of graphics on it. That car.
Was it a condo?
It was a condo, that thing.
Not a venture. Venture.
It wasn't a venture.
It wasn't.
That thing,
the car, Branduli.
Hey, look, that was a condo. Bon, hit us on the comments.
I thought it was a Ventura.
Hey, no, I think it was. Anyhow.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they used to rock by with it, yeah.
So they came through with it, man. I really liked PODI-CAST, the brand.
Yeah.
But when they came through, they called and said, we wanted to see you. We're working on this PODI-CAST mixtape.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've probably heard of the PODI-CAST anthem.
Mm-hmm.
So sort of like a continuation from the PODI-CAST anthem. We want you to do this. We like what you do. And then you know what also that did with the relationship between us was also they said, you want to make some clothes?
Yeah.
Our factory is open for you to come and do basement. I think I had a logo, basement something.
Everyone had a dream. Everyone had a dream.
So they came through. It was extended to that. Okay. No, you know what? You have access to our factory also to do whatever you want to do.
That's great.
So really, what they did also. They saw a potential in me, and said, you know what, we want you to do this, and they paid me. For the production, they were paying for the production.
Whoa!
They paid for everything,
This is 2 years in the game.
Yeah.
And now you're able to hold some proper guap.
So at
That's
the time,
amazing,
and also they also helped out. A few of the tracks that we had made from the album, I think they also shot videos for them. For the tracks, I remember the one with Touch Motswako. Yeah. So production, they really love production. So they said, we want to also help you extend going forward. You're gonna do the AK mixtape and then.
Yeah,
we can hear other projects that's on and let's on. Yeah, like I remember at the time HT, I had HT's album as well. Yeah, I think Dice was also in the picture. They brought Dice. They actually they're the ones who introduced me to Dice at the time. The late Dice through the master. Yeah, so it was really, I would say they really helped me a lot.
Definitely, yeah. It's really
and
really
I really
crazy.
Loved. I went to the factory. I really saw what they were doing there. I was really impressed and at the time imagine this was 2008.
So is that where you caught the bug? Had you ever really thought about getting into apparel? Do you think that was the moment that was like a eureka moment for you? Or?
I think at the time I was not really fully thinking about doing apparel at the time. I was just okay, you're gonna have a basement studio, basement gear, whatever, basement wear. It looked
you're
cool,
committed to the brand.
Yeah. So so but at the time I was not really fully thinking about it. But after some time, after a while, after I think maybe 2-3 years, and then I was like, you know what? I need to go and see Ludo. I think Ludo and Bani at the time they were in China. So I couldn't find them. So I started. I wrote them a message. I think I said something about I want us to meet. I want you to help me pursue doing my own clothing. I still have I give you the Facebook inside. Keep a message from. When it started,
message so you dropped them a text.
So I dropped them a messenger on thing.
On Facebook.
So and then Ludo said, no, don't worry, when we come back from China,
I'm going to take you, we're still in the same area because like you did, Biggie, you were deep in the music, my nigga. It's really hard to imagine you not doing music anymore. You did volume 1, BK Proctor Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. And, you also did some of the early work with Double MP. Before we get into that, I first met Vizo when he was in
Young
a group.
V.
Young V.
Yeah.
Young V and Young Slugs. Nebanale, a track called Young and Fresh.
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard Vizo rap.
Yeah.
Was that the first time? How did you meet
So
Vizo?
to me, Ramsden. To me, is she Ramsden?
Ramsden.
Yeah, to me, Ramsden called me to say.
To me, Ramsden.
To me,
Ramsden.
Yes.
Ramsden.
Yeah. She called me to say that these young guys, I want you to listen to them. They come here every now and then.
Jingles and stuff.
And then I was like, okay. And then came two guys.
Yeah.
Young Slugs, he's.
Yeah. But he's lost weight now. What's up, Slugs? He's at Okavango beer now. Like, man. Slugs.
Yeah, they came through.
Yeah.
Go studio, go Poppy in here.
Go Poppy in, yeah.
Yeah.
You have moved now from Commerce Park to Poppy.
We moved from Commerce Park to Poppy in here. Yeah, so they came to Konekwana.
So how did the project come together? Did you guys record the project or did you guys?
So this is what happened.
Yeah.
They wanted to do like a short snippet, like for the sort of like the intro for the show.
Or the mid-morning affair.
Yes.
Hey.
Yeah,
I think it was before Kebarakale, and she was doing the mid-morning show.
Yes.
Yeah, for some time as well.
So they did that, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then I worked on so I was just making them listen to some beats. Then there's one and I was like, let me just do the BK. I think at the time was the BK Proctor Volume 2 or 3, somewhere there.
Okay.
And then because that young and fresh, that song was in the album. I think it's one. I think I'm not sure if it's one or I'm not sure if 2 or 3.
On some Lil Wayne shit, nigga. I don't remember which album it is.
Yeah.
Is it on the catalog? It's there. It's there in the catalog. Yeah.
But baby, do Young V and Young Slugs.
Young V and Young Slugs. I remember them perfectly.
I was like, what? I've never heard anybody rap like this.
I mean, even the track itself. Yeah. We keep it young and fresh. What? As I was like, and you put us on the remix.
And those days I was making a lot. I would take a song and make 100 remixes.
Yeah, like
of the same song. I remember with Untolerable we did over 10 remixes.
And your relationship with THABO as well, before I digress into the fashion, because your music career can be an episode by itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is why I feel like I'm rushing too much. Because you also, you brought Thabo back.
Yeah.
I mean, Thabo's my brother, and he's one of the hardest working musicians that I've known. Yeah. He was in T-Joint. And then when he did his solo album, I was there. With Daddy Ski, I was there.
I think Son of the Soil.
Son of the Soil. And that's when we did Biri.
Yeah.
And then he met you.
Yeah.
And then it was like he got a new leaf on life. Your relationship with THABO and Torabo is a classic. Yeah. It's one of Botswana's ultimate BW Ghetto tracks of all time. You know what I mean? Big up for that, my nigga.
In fact, I'll tell you this. So
he even calls himself that now.
He's
untolerable. Impactful it was on his career.
So how I met with him was I had went to see Solo B, and Solo B had Thabo was working with Solo B. Thabo Khosima. So he was working there, and then I think at the time we were licensing the HT album to I believe Orange at the time was actually buying albums from and then just doing distribution. So I met Thabo there, and then Thabo said, no, you know what, some of your stuff. And then he came with TH.
Namesake.
TH very viscose.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
wow.
I'll tell you this. From the Untwarable song, the Untwarable beat was my first ever Kwaito beat.
Yeah. Because it was a complete switch up from what you have been doing. There have been a whole lot of hip hop.
I was not even sure, Kayo, and I was like, I just started playing it for him about this is
because the groove, but it was always in the vibe because but then your detractors were always quick to say, BK, how play formula? He stays on that sound for a while. What do you want to say to that?
No,
because I'm sure
the thing is, at the time, when
for my man's hasna huta sound BK wa huila dipina dile 20 kayo nigi.
And to be honest with you, Kwaito, there wasn't much you could do to Kwaito in terms of being versatile with it. Because the bass lines for Kwaito, I mean, I grew up listening to Spekire, Mdu, Ata. You get? Once you got that... you ride with it, woman. Always, hale, you keep on switching it up. But obviously the keys will always remain...
around the same things. I feel you. Okay, I'm gonna, like I said, the episode really deserves a whole thing by itself. And I want to get into the one way.
No, I can't
celebrate the time now.
Hey, this is the 10th episode, man. So.
Yeah.
When I see the
we're not on. Hey, no. We sort of what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Samantha Moore. Actually, let's get into Samantha Moore. We all knew her when she was doing those competitions. TV,
my African
Dream, and a lot of it used to happen at the amphitheater there. What got you to doing work with her? Oh, no, I started releasing the music. I think it was 2016.
Yeah, she had just released Transition. Yes.
So she was looking for...
Yeah, but...
Why do you think she came to you?
I was introduced to her by TCM.
Oh,
Thabo Malipiti.
Okay.
The crowd mover.
Hey, no. They all know
TCM,
him. Groove Cartel. No doubt. So, can I used to manage her?
This is what happened. I think I was working on one of the mixtapes, Sammy.
The masterpiece.
Yes, the masterpiece of duets.
So I
called TCM because I knew he was the manager. And then he said, no, okay, no problem. The track, but BK wasn't it for us. I don't know. I mean, you can give me a charge, or we can.
We can.
I can in return produce some music.
All right, cool.
Right.
Awesome stuff.
Because the studio.
But you've always been about your business. How were you able to sustain Basement if you were able to do so much pro bono work? Because I'm guessing there wasn't a lot of people, especially because there were such young artists and there wasn't a lot of money flying around. How were you able to sustain yourself?
Let me tell you how I did it. When I was upcoming, right? Because I wanted to get my name out there. I was not really fussy about people buying my beats. I was more concerned with people knowing the work that I did. You know, so hence why I was not even charging people to make albums, and you see what I'm saying? For example, if I make I would look at it this way. Or if I make a song for someone who's like known, people will hear the song, and then the right people will come, and then I'll make the charge. You get it?
Okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
So,
it's all business. It's all psychology. Yes, but also at the same time, also I was making ads. You know,
I want to talk to you about the ads game.
Producing a lot of ads. We did that when RB2 was moving from your station of thing. What?
The station of choice. No.
The heartbeat of the nation.
The heartbeat of the nation.
To your station of choice. I did all the stings and the radio.
The station imaging.
Yeah.
Okay. So with your station of choice.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so how do you get into the airspace? Because we have all of these studios everywhere. Every nigga has a studio. And everyone is recording themselves. So would you advise anyone to have a studio? Now, For commercial reasons, of course. Like, I know right now people are recording themselves and then they get that music out because, you know, you're a publisher yourself. So, do you think if you wanted to set up like a commercial studio and even do ads, do you think if you were BK right now, you would set up a studio to
I think now I'll do it as a hobby.
Hey.
Yeah.
You got enough.
I mean, you know why? Because also we have to also look at it this way. Back then, you remember the studio Identities
at all?
Yeah, Eric Ramco Studios Records, Ski, Mudhut. Those were the big studios. You get. So in order for you to record, you had to go all the way to those guys. Mare also. Look at it this way. The advantages and the disadvantages, right? Yeah. The disadvantages today of setting up of everybody having a studio is that there is no a sense of mentorship now. Yeah. When you went to Ramco, there was a sense of structure. Okay, we're gonna make this album. We're gonna produce materials that's gonna market this album. We're gonna have you here. We're gonna have you here. We're gonna have you here. There's a structure. So people 2 minutes hello we release a pina, but and then how do you monetize it?
Yeah,
you get, because the idea of the structure was to find ways for you to make the money at the end. Yeah. So or whoever it made money for.
So at least at least someone makes some fun.
Yeah, and then of course, what are these digital online platforms?
Yeah.
I don't know how people are making money out of that.
They're not.
Yeah.
They're not. I was talking to my lady earlier on.
See?
After a year.
Yeah.
After a year from these DSPs, and I'm wondering, okay, cool. Is the cool thing, and I get a really time. I saw I'm sure I'm number 50 cooler, and I'm wondering, okay, is the key thing or distro kid or logo to Spotify, Apple, or what would you do right now, BK? If you had, you've released a ton of material.
Yeah.
You went up to a BK volume 5, pa. How you're releasing other music, how you are also doing the masters. You work with Culture Spears, German Dollar, V.
Yeah.
You haven't even gone to V.
Maxi.
Lista, Bolly saying, Maxi.
Yeah. Puna dog.
I mean, all of these
I think
people,
everyone.
every single body. So not right now, because I know you're okay with the apparel game, but like, would you release music right now?
Yeah, for sure.
Why aren't you releasing music right now?
No, because you know when I sort of like took a break from making music, I felt like I was making music for the longest of time, and I didn't see growth. I felt like I reached a ceiling, not Botswana, in terms of making music. And also when people would say, you sound the same, the beat sounds the same. So you wanna take a break. You wanna take a break and then go and rethink and reposition. Yeah.
Where did you go? I mean,
I just stayed home.
Didn't people feel you were going through a mental breakdown?
Because I think so, yeah. Something like that. Because
can you take us through that phase? Because I can tell you personally, I had a phase like that where I didn't want to get out of the room.
Yeah.
And then I got out and we have a podcast now.
I remember Owen.
And we have a bunch of things, and
we're
now
in 2018. 2019, 2018, yeah. Beginning of 2018. Mike and Chekilo go like paying chief. And they malatsing ela how respond to the message walwa. Kentwa. Hey, Owen. So because I started thinking about my life, I started thinking, I'm not making enough.
Yeah.
I'm not Wow. Because you know life also, so I started thinking, okay. And then one of my aunts used to be going to China a lot. Then I said, one of the days that I want to take, let me know, give me time, I'll raise up money to at least for flight there and just to go and see. So because I had felt like I reached a ceiling and I wanted something different, you know, not music, you know.
Yeah.
It's music is actually my at the core, it's my love. It's my first love. So but also, you know, you have to live. You
gotta make some dough.
Yeah.
You gotta make some dough.
That is the most important thing.
On this trip, what did you see? I mean, where did you stay? Give us this experience. Yeah, the first trip.
So the first time I went to China, we went to, obviously we will go where they go.
Who's they?
I get it. How about like my aunt.
It's such a dark place for me to think about because
China, I always call.
That's what everyone comes back and says. Good. Can you keep us out?
So the first time I went there, because my aunt Nana go, so she knows. But the first time I went there, to be honest with you, she just took me where and she wanted to go. So wherever she had to be at, I had to be with her because I guess that's amazing. No, she go to tell her that I have no interest to me. But and then I said, okay, let me just learn hella China, see how China is. I did whatever wherever she was going, I was going with her. But then I was collecting some cards here and there, people who do whatever, people who but and also, to be honest with you, at the same time, of course I wanted to make some because I wanted to research more about products. But obviously I didn't want to make the same things that everybody else was doing because I knew what AK were doing t-shirts a lot. I was like, okay, but I need to do something out of the ordinary. And then we started with okay, this was the third time I went to China. The third time I went to China, we started now making some sneakers. You know, so, and the sneakers at the time, remember, I got a whole lot of backlash for it. Because, so this is what happens.
Please explain.
Yeah.
Would you go to China? Would you spend money to produce a product that looks like another product? What happened?
So this is what happened. I went to China. I was in no way a designer. To be honest, at the time I had not learned a thing or two in terms of making actual products. So what I did is I went to a factory, banale, a bunch of materials. Leather, all kinds of materials. Not
online or
you can see everything is there. Even the soles, everything to make the shoe come together. Everything is there, right? So I said, I want this, I want that, I want this. Put this together. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because I had no design at the time, at the time. No, I didn't have a design down. Yeah.
So nearly. That's like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we did use a Balenciaga sole at the time. It's a I think it's one of the common ones with the sock on top. Yeah.
With the sock on top.
Yeah.
So it looks nothing like this.
No.
It looks nothing like this.
Yeah, this we actually have a prototype and everything. Yeah.
This is where we are, son. Just so you know. Hey, Balenciaga.
Yeah, so but you know, it was good, Jorge, when we did that and then we came back. I came back, had this. It wasn't even, those sneakers were not even for sale.
How did that make you feel? Because I'm trying to figure out, Jorge, you know, here you are doing something out of the box completely. Botswana. When I know AK had done Gomara one, I know a couple of dudes have been trying, but Leon AK wasn't really pushing it.
Yeah.
I trying to get my jump he did sports.
Yeah.
But then how did you feel when people started dissing something that we really needed, like as far as the country, something that we can identify with? Here's a young dude doing something that we didn't have.
At the time, of course it was. It's painful.
Who do you talk to?
But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take all this feedback to the factory.
Yeah. Okay.
So I started talking to the factory and say, look at this. Why did we do this? Why did we do this? How can we improve this? I said, BK, you need to come up with your own design. Yeah. Go and sit down. Sketch whatever you can sketch, do whatever you can do, because to come up with to make the sneaker come to life, it's a process. It's a whole lot of process, and also you need you start off by sketching, and
you can just try to go through a little bit, because there's when this pops up on people's screens, there's a lot of young people out here who really want to get into apparel, and like I just want you to be as blunt as possible in trying to like give them a picture of what exactly they'll run into. Like when you're trying to do a sneaker, what type of process are you talking about?
It's all starts here, right?
Yeah.
You start thinking, okay, I want to have a sneaker like a Nike sneaker, for example.
Yeah.
What type of a Nike sneaker? Maybe an Air Force One. Right?
Yeah.
They have the low top, the mid top, and then the boot.
Okay.
Right. And then I want to create something similar to this, but not exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, who am I selling to? Who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
So you start off sketching. Then you have to send a sketch to. Before you send the sketch to the factory, you need to put it on your web or on your either Corel Draw or Photoshop.
Okay.
And then you start
on a graphic representation.
To say, okay, this is, you got to sort of like you're explaining the patterns and what you want to wear and how and what colors and what not.
All right.
Right.
Okay.
So you have the sort of like a like a prototype of the
shoe that they
sort of like a mock-up.
Okay.
I get it. With all the specifications.
Okay.
Right? Then you send it to a factory.
Okay.
Then a factory would say to you, okay, you want this, what lengths?
For sole, that thing.
For sole, for each and everything has to be. Everything needs to be, So you now have that back and forth with the factory to say, okay, no, I want this, I want that, I want this, fix here, change this, maybe let's use the laces, and maybe use so you start
into it,
and then the factory now needs to make the prototype, right? They send you the prototype.
Okay.
Then you wear the prototype and see and test and there's sneakers like these ones I've been wearing
put it up.
Sneakers like these ones I've been wearing for quite some time. I think maybe over 2-3 years I've been wearing these ones,
These are but you can see the leather from like fire. These, so you wear the prototypes.
Yeah,
that's like baller.
So I get right. You have to test the quality control, production.
So how you also check on how long it sustains like itself.
So that tomorrow, it's in the shop how it behave a certain way. We know how
in advance.
Okay. We know how to say to customer, to advise the customer because
the first ones but like right now, I'm seeing like the finishings, like they are on another level.
Yeah. So products also they evolve, as you know. Products. I mean, if you look at the 1966 Jaguar right now, and you look at the 2024 Jaguar, you see the same design.
Yes, sir.
It has evolved over years.
Over the time.
So that means what? That means you keep on improving a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that with time. So the longer you do it, the more practice makes perfect.
And you're getting better and better at this. For while you're doing all of this, when did it hit you or hate? Like it's in high companies that had.
Yeah.
When did you while you're doing this, had you already set up the name, or did you do the work first and then you're like, hey? Because sometimes people, some of these things, I mean, I just wanted, for people to know how it happened for you.
Yeah.
Because some of these things are not as generic as we think. Companies set up a company, but they are not gonna work. You know what I mean? How did it happen for you?
I think I started making the products first. Yeah. Before even the name at the time, it was like BK Proctor.
It was just BK Proctor. Yeah.
But later on, I said, you know what? We need to fully have a business plan with this, fully structure the plan and have like strategic plans, marketing strategies and stuff, into it, so that it's like a business, not just or on a
Fast.
quick cash scheme or some sort or one.
So
what I did is obviously we set up the company was registered in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this year is our 5th year, right?
I'll drink to that. I'm drinking to everything.
Yeah. Cheers. Let's cheers.
Cheers to that, but like I'm out here to like for real.
So this is our 5th year, and let me take you a little bit back to registering the company, which is like collections by BK Proctor, Pty Ltd. Yes, sir. The company, it's a lifestyle brand specializing in footwear, apparel, and accessories. When we set it up like a business, a fully fledged business. It's got everything that is required, like all the KYC,
everything.
Yeah,
it takes clearance.
Everybody.
So how important is that for a business to have everything? Like the KYC, especially like all of this came from your head, and that's why I'm saying a lot of young people have so many bright ideas, and then they don't legitimize them, and then I think they don't become very serious about them because you think I can train and I'm the only one with it. So you scheme it's important to set up your paperwork for real.
It is really, really important because also you attract the right customers in terms of clientele, in terms of like now we work with corporations. They expect you to have all that in place.
Before
because people how do people trust you with that money if you don't have a bank account set up?
Those are some good questions right there.
So kana harata na mosipa it's difficult.
No, I think you launched in 2018 and then we opened in 2019.
Opened our first store in 2019.
That's insane. And so you are being received really, really well now. At first, people wanted to compare the logo to another logo, especially on this Bridgestone one. How did you conceptualize the logo? And what would you like to say to people who are out here talking about the similarities? And does it even bother you? Do these things get to you?
It doesn't really bother me. I mean, people sometimes babu abale misinformed. So sometimes you can't blame them. But with the B, it's a BK Proctor. It's just B in reverse with K going forward. So why the B is in reverse is because when we were seated down with the team, we said again. We don't want people, as we are moving forward, let's not forget where we come from, right? So hence why the B is in reverse.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So we don't forget where we come from. And, it's a lot. People who've helped you, people who you have worked with. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Yeah, just don't forget
where you came from.
Yeah.
And I think that's
why the business was set up in the first place.
The primary reason why we are all
hence
here.
Why the B is in reverse. We could have had the B in the normal way. Yeah,
I feel you completely.
So that's how the icon came about. It's just BK.
But we're trademarked. We wouldn't be putting all this money into this kind of week. You wouldn't be putting all this money into this thing if it wasn't trademarked. So I think that's also...
And it's trademarked. It's there. It's with SEPA. It's straight. Yeah,
it's trademarked. No,
and the red, and people always go bananas over me using red and black and white. But affiliated party, but it's just everybody has corporate colors. Yeah, I like red, I like black, I like white, but so it's one of those things.
That's another thing. Everything in B-Dub is about
say
that,
yellow?
right?
Can we say Mascom is yellow and
orange is orange?
BPF.
I mean, okay. I feel you completely, but with me, I always try to ignore it. The only problem is when you go to a place where there are politicians, they always like asking that questions. What are for it? What's yours?
And also with the misinformation or being misinformed, you don't know did I really gift or was it bought?
So did the president buy the shoe? you can't do that. Did he buy the shoe?
Yeah, the shoes were bought.
So how does this happen? I mean, they make the call. They were seeing you. They were out there.
Let me tell you how it happened. Right? DJ Fresh and Zbizo, they called me.
Sabelo Mudibe.
Yes.
Yeah.
They called me to say we're doing the final awards for the people, the road show.
Yes, the Department of Broadcasting Services road show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they called me to say we want to gift the president something from your store. So I said,
wow, man.
So I said, okay, do sneakers. Because our brand, our core product is the sneakers. Yes.
No, because I see it everywhere. I read about the label. It's clothes and footwear. It never leaves footwear behind.
Yes. So Sabelo came to the store and bought the sneakers. So I was like, okay. And then they invited me to come to the event.
Right? And shout out to Bizo for being a fair brother, man.
They invited me to come to the event. And I was like, you know what? I'll take the opportunity. Right?
Yeah.
Every businessman must actually think like that.
So was there backlash?
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're hitting you up and saying,
why don't you give so and so? Why did you give so and so? Why are you giving them in those colors? Why did you see what I'm saying? I'm like,
what are you gonna do now? I mean, here you are right now. What are you gonna make the yellow ones? Or are you gonna make? No, are you gonna make the other ones?
I'll tell you this.
Will you try to appease everyone?
Go shopping around. In all our stores, we try by all means to cater in terms of color, not based on what's happening or
in the world
or political what's happening. We look at trends, the colors that are trending this year or this season, because the season is change. We work with that to say, okay, this is 2023 to 2024 summer color schemes. We work with that.
A business decision.
So unfortunately, I can't. If I'm gifting the president an outfit, I can't give the president an outfit in colors that he doesn't represent. You see what I'm saying? It needs to make sense.
It needs to make some sense.
Yeah.
No, but it made headlines. I mean, a lot of us are proud as BW because I remember a time when WHP Total all he used to wear was all kasi because he always knew what people would relate it to Botswana and whatever. Nowadays, anywhere in the world, my brother, hey, Botswana. I've seen enough people tell me it's online, or this is now a representation of Botswana. How does that make you feel? How much Botswana have really I mean, in the past year as well. We were in Ghetto. I had a show, area. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 people.
That's a lot of people.
Even in the morning when we went to when we went to one of the malls, something before we headed out to Gabs. Still in the mall. Head to toe. On a Sunday, and you can tell this nigga wasn't from church. And because now you also have the shop over there. How does it make you feel to see how Botswana have now really gravitated towards the label?
It's really humbling, man. I mean, also, I look at it from the fact that we never gave up. We just, with all the backlash and everything, comes victory. At the end of every tunnel, there's victory. There's light. So all we could do is just keep on and keeping on. You get so, and Francistown is like my hometown. So Francistown for sure.
Did you know for sure?
They've really embraced us.
But how did you know? Because a lot of the time when we do things in gaps, especially
Yeah.
if something starts in Gaborone,
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that sometimes people think Gaborone is Botswana. But Botswana is Botswana, my nigga. Once
Botswana
you
is
pass
Botswana,
Adisia, some of your favorites,
Yeah.
people
That
don't come. No one.
Yeah.
So I always feel how's it so north kakwa?
Oh, is it on Kompotsa? On Kompotsa a story by Musui Tops. Tops Masol. So one of the regular show I went, so he took us. I think it was a sort of like a Tonyan.
Yeah.
To end up in Maung. So how does I go Maung kwa? Rnare ken nale ne Juju boy. So Rabu wana. So one poka wana one poka wa. So Juju boy. Juju boy. When are we to hela go pakalani?
It's a hustle to be known that side. And because of social media, I think it's harder now. They may know you, but for them to take out their money and purchase your stuff, it's another story. Bana, let's check this one.
Yes.
They have their influencers. They have their labels.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to the label. It's in Ghetto.
Yeah, Go Hard.
Go Hard just opened the shop, I think, as well.
Yeah. But they were the first Go Francistown.
Yeah. So I'm thinking they have their own thing. Did you know for sure that response was gonna be like that? Because my nigga, I'm shocked.
For sure, I didn't know.
Not I didn't believe, but like I'm on some. This is more than I'm sure you bargained for.
You know what? I'll tell you this. The thing is, Francistown Yakobua, only everywhere. They have a certain way of thinking and you know.
Yeah.
So hence why when I got to Francistown, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna treat this like. Okay, the collections by BK Proctor is known in Gaborone. People are you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna treat Francistown. I grew up in Francistown. I understand how they think and how they process.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna treat it like a virgin market. Yeah. So I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna do everything
that you would do if you were in the streets. Yeah.
Like you were starting like Waban. So hence why I came up with those native T-shirts for Francistown.
Oh, those are for those who don't know, Giddy area, right?
It's a Francistown, yeah.
Milestone.
Yeah.
Yo, that was genius.
You see what I'm saying?
No, that was genius.
They really loved the idea of what I was
Dog. No.
Yeah.
I'm sure you just sit there and just look at the rest of us as like, because it's just doing the same thing to me right now.
Yeah, I think like that, but I think for him, don't assume people know.
Yeah.
Don't assume what it's all
hype in your area.
Yeah, like a lot of people that I know said to me, Francistown, nobody's gonna buy in Francistown
because they don't come to that shows.
I came to Francistown. Other brands, people said I came to Francistown. I'm back here because I don't see. I'm like, you know what? Maybe let me study there. So
what's going on?
And why would people come in and go back?
Yeah.
So I need to fully understand the market. So as I was driving to Francistown, I saw the Nando's billboard.
Yeah.
You could look at Sakalak. I was like,
that's it. That's all you gotta do.
They know whom they're talking to.
They know who they're talking to. And then highlight it's Nando's Francistown, by the way. So that was the perfect one to look at. I saw your billboard when we were driving out of Ghetto. I don't know if there was one when we were driving in as well. So you are going in as hard as like you would go in
we have,
the market.
I think we have
that's respect for
5 billboards in Francistown.
Jesus. And that's respect for the market itself. I mean, it's one thing.
And also using the people that people can resonate with.
Bands is on the advert. Q.
DJ
Chang is on the advert.
You see what I'm saying?
A lot of the people buying
even Roselyne April is from Francistown. She stays in Francistown. So,
I remember you want Roselyne my nigga, that's genius. With your marketing style, I mean, you work, you do adverts almost every 2 weeks.
Every day.
The guy, how do you like That's our pitches order.
For sure.
So why is it important for you to go hard like this? I mean, a lot of the I'll talk from my experience. Mobidab, a lot of the people who do great things end up sitting on their laurels.
Yeah.
No pun intended to my guy Laurel Smith here. Yeah. They sit on their things, and then they don't continue pursuing. Yeah. Why is advertising the way you do, and what goes into how you conceptualize your adverts?
I think I'm studying Coca-Cola. So Coke bare haba whenever they do a promo, they used to have a budget for the advert in terms of sort of like marketing and advertising budget. I think it was $1 billion every year dollars, right?
Yeah.
Bare every time they put out an ad, more people are drinking Coke. They are still yet to find out to understand
what is
it. They don't sell the Coke like Coke. They sell the experience of drinking Coke. You know, they sell that,
next to food and stuff. I remember I've seen something like that about like how the ads always have a dish next to them. It's not just the Coca-Cola. Yeah. It's about how you eat. So
I was like, you know what? I think Lorona, we need to do something out of the ordinary. Like we'll do like a couple of pictures and then we post and then that's it. But I feel like in terms of to communicate, how do we communicate? How do we speak to the customers? Yeah. Or how do we get them to buy into the product? Yeah. You know, so you have to create ads still, or they sort of like somehow makes one want to become like this. Yeah. Or wear this. Yes. You see what I'm saying? And also, a lot of people, we use a lot of musicians and but not really. Yeah. I mean, we try to capture each and everyone's story. So from it could be a mechanic, it could be someone a security guard, you know, wearing our products to say our products make you feel a certain way. Thing, you see what I'm saying?
But that's the thing, baby. It's just that when you're in the club, you don't recognize this nigga is a security guard. No. You know what I mean? This is just a nigga who looks fly. Yeah. So what you doing is showing or you can look fly in any situation that you are in.
Don't exclude yourself.
Don't exclude yourself.
Yeah.
It's just you being expressive. Right?
Yeah. Express yourself.
In the most, and that's the thing I think it's about. Yeah. But you're just giving them something to aspire to be. It's affordable and it's local. I absolutely love that.
And also in terms of our advertising, like our team, I mean, we have an in-house team, and then we also outsource. Local Corner have been producing our ads for the dopest ads for years.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying? So it's like you the way I think is we have a lot of products in store, and we have a lot of products that are coming. That are yet to come, right? Yeah. So I'm always thinking of ideas of how to get people to see them. They shouldn't just be go shopping and nobody is seeing them. You see what I'm saying? Hence why I'm saying we should almost on a daily basis. Yeah. Some ads will make it, some ads won't make it. But in terms of trying to capture the idea behind the ads, I mean the products, just to say put the products in your face is the least we could do, in terms of creating those ads on a daily basis.
Definitely. I want to talk to that, with your team. You guys, I think Majitai Longor Badujit Gela. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm listening to you, and I've read up on marketing books as much as possible, and what they talk about is communicate. Yeah. You just literally said it. Yeah. When you want the basic form of communication. Yo, this is what I have at my store. Yeah. This is how you could potentially wear it. Yeah. This is who it belongs to. You're communicating a message.
I remember the ad we shot. We went and shot it in Francistown. I think we were there for maybe 2 weeks. We shot it with the native Francis Towners.
Baba Itsering.
Baba Itsering in Francis Town.
How mona
also the ad was done in Kalanga. So I wrote it down because because I write down to say, okay, this is the script. I script like all the ads that we do. We make to say, okay, recite it like this. So it lands us about why don't we do it in Kalanga? So that and then don't even bother about translating it, because we are not talking to Obuale Kwanu Molape.
I'm sure they felt
so yeah.
Whoa. That's like that blows my mind. I want to talk about how you assembled your team. How big is your team? Is it all you, or how did you select the people that you currently working with? And if you want to shout them out, man.
I mean, for
powerful team
for our stores. Obviously we have a operations manager who's Dosi Tselantle Letosa.
Okay.
And then we have a supervising manager. Yeah, Mashia Proctor.
Okay.
And then in terms of I mean we have a lot of people who are working with us in terms of sales and whatnot. But when it comes to creating the content for, obviously it's a marketing team, but I'm sort of like the lead creative director in that.
Okay.
Where we conceptualize the ads and I mean the concepts for the ads, looking at the product.
That's you look at the product and then who create something. Say, every single item that you got in the store has to have its own story.
Yes.
I'm getting that because I went into the store and I saw the pieces, and I'm getting a feel. You're probably gonna inventory flip a blind really quickly. So it's about you. When you have something new out, people really need to come and get it.
People really need to see it.
They might never get it.
Yeah, and also, what I've realized is that we can have clothes in the rails, but sometimes for you to really understand, for you to really get the vibe, to say. But is like, okay, but I go one hour it's like, okay, I now get it. So
as far I want to talk also about the St. Louis
collaboration.
St. Louis Lager dog. There's Access Bank.
Yeah, it's a
Capital Bank.
First Capital
Bank. My apologies to First Capital Bank. And these collaborations that you're doing, that niggas are now catching on to, and they're doing themselves. Get your bread, homies. Get your bread.
No problem.
There's no problem with that. How did you even think like that? I mean, let's start there. And how did you get like the not the idea, but like the confidence even to walk in there, because a lot of us are timid about our ideas.
So I'll give you an insight into how we sort of like do things, right? Sort of like how we do things, right? So basically what happens is when we think of ideas, to say we want to approach so and so, for example, we're not just gonna come to say, we have an idea like this. So what we'll do is we'll create a catalog to say, let's talk about Local Corner, for example. The whole team, right? We want to approach Local Corner to do maybe sort of like a collaboration with us or something. What we'll do is we'll create the catalog, right?
Yeah, the ideas that you have for that collaboration.
For the ideas.
Okay.
Catalog, and then we do production.
Oscar answered too many secrets,
right? No, it's okay. I want you to see
really
something.
Know how free you are with it.
So, because people believe in seeing. Seeing is believing.
Okay, so what are we?
So I have this idea, and then everybody has ideas. And everybody can put it in. So now we'll actually do the actual samples. Right? So that by the time we come to you,
how is
I'm sold.
Can I keep this one in my office?
You get? But a lot of the collaborations that we've had, I mean, recently we just worked with Mascom as well. So a lot of the collaborations that we've had, it's through other collaborations. You see what I'm saying? First Capital Bank, they saw what we did with St. Louis, and sort of like that's reference.
But you literally created a market, though.
To say, that's. I mean, but all casino they've been doing it for.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it at first. But like, I think but what you did the colors.
Yeah.
I think Makasibone always stuck to their colors. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But like, I've never seen it before.
So the thing is, all the corporations, everybody has got their corporate colors. Right? So this is what happens when you get to a factory. Sometimes the factory doesn't have the color that you are bringing in.
Because the specification is a brand.
So the type of yellow that you have as your corporate color in your Pantone doesn't necessarily mean or it's there and it's
easily accessible.
Yeah, or production. So because all our products are made from scratch, so we have to source out this particular color that you say you want, right? And then sometimes we don't find it. We can't. It's not there in the swatches or in the library, right? Rare, we'll mix the colors to get your color. We'll mix whatever to find the
specific color.
So that's how much it go. That's how much in terms of making those particular products come to life, because the corporation, everybody has the corporate colors.
Own particular color. So you need
so hence why a lot of people that we work with, they know in terms of we make our products from scratch. So it's not like we're going to get a t-shirt print that a Mascom or something. No. Everything has to be done from scratch with all the specifications to say how many grams of this, how many of this, what centimeters of the logo, all of it.
I get brand manuals. Companies have brand manuals.
So you stick to they give you that. You stick to that.
Crazy.
So I mean, we've since the inception, we've worked with First Capital Bank, KBL. Mascom, BPOMAS, New Capital Cinema.
Sure.
It's a lot of people,
That's really, really dope stuff, my nigga. I want to talk also about, are you planning on opening other stores, or where do you intend on opening up so that they get ready? Or you're still chilling to see? Yeah,
for now, I forgot to mention the Piermont hotels Botswana. Grand Palm. We have a collaboration that's ongoing with them. So
how do you keep that type of shit secret? Like,
I just signed a deal with. I just signed a deal with.
So I'm trying to figure out how are you able to keep that a secret that long? Because like
shy over.
I mean, never. He's shy sometimes. But I remember he hit the grandpa. I don't remember seeing anything going on. So was it covered? What was going on?
We covered the space before we even started doing anything there. Even the one in Fairgrounds.
The Fairgrounds alone.
The thing is, I like a moment of surprise.
But you're a patient guy, though.
Yeah, because I'm
gonna.
Yeah, you catch me, guy. No.
Yeah, I'm here.
I feel like it's there's something substantial with that.
Yeah, it shows. At least, So instead of just telling people I'm gonna.
But I just signed with
dog. This nigga is talking about a shop. No, so I think sometimes when you say things, you kill momentum.
It's like I always see people. I'm like, I want to avoid this. I want to avoid giving out too much before people can see the actual thing. It's like when you shoot video and then you're shooting a live video for everybody to see. Go like bang. It's like by the time the video comes out, I'm like, because they get born everything. Get sharp.
I feel
so they I want that wow factor now. It's gone. So I like doing that. I like even creating the stores. I'm the one who actually create the stores. Like the layout of the store and whatnot and stuff. So I mean, there's always challenges. So I like.
What about constructors? Like, you seem to have a really good relationship with the people.
Around,
even the people who do the infrastructure.
Yeah, the people who actually, the people who do all our stores is people I've been working with since
Oasis.
Yeah, since Oasis. So it's like, because of if the space is bigger, you need one.
But that was the point, man.
Yeah. So and then you don't want dira shop and then you have people expecting the store.
It creates.
So ke batla go itswalela hela and do it. And by the time it's done.
I want to talk to how there's a newspaper article here that talks about Proctor's life is reflective of his strong values and discipline. He's a Christian who fellowships at the Gospel of Grace 3G Ministries in Kopo. He's a workaholic, which shows that his success aren't through sheer luck. His day, so are you still
Yeah, I'm a Christian at heart, right? With everything. No, I'm a Christian at heart. Sorry. I'm a Christian from with everything I am, right? So God lives in me, and everything that I do, I forever engage God to be part of it because I can't do it alone. Especially, so so what keeps me grounded is obviously my grandmother, my family, and God. So I pray, and I pray. I have a relationship with God. And He's the center of everything that we do. To be honest with you,
I respect that. I can respect that as well. And like, how is it being a Christian in the music industry, and also in the space that we're in? I know, you share a relationship with Mampizi. With Chef Gusto's Lene. You know what I mean? How is it being someone who carries their faith on their sleeve that much, but more space in how?
I think I grew up to understand my relationship with God has got nothing to do with what I do, what I eat, what I drink, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's got nothing to absolutely nothing to do with all that. So sometimes we think, no, I'm Christian. I can't when I drink Vev. I can't. You see what I'm saying? I can't. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, it's like the relationship you have with your parents. If whether you act a fool or not, you're still the son. You see what I'm saying?
I feel you.
So that's a relationship.
That's a really good relationship.
So I mean, with Mampizi was the one Tota who fully introduced us to especially going to church. I remember very well KT Mulifinyane back then.
No, we've all been there.
You see, so hey, Kimuruti. I mean, like I'm saying, the relationship mattering the most is between you and the Creator. You see what I'm saying?
Awesome stuff. So BK, we wake up one morning and then we find out that you are married.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So
what are you saying?
Papa,
why the secrecy? I mean, BK, I think I had been at your house. I think I'd been there. I think it was a month earlier.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Next thing, even like a video I can move to Mostrati. Yo, BK is married. The next time I see you, you're wearing a wedding band.
Yes.
How did you do it? Teach us.
And cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Cheers to the missus as well. You know what I mean? How did you pull off? That is the magic trick of the year. Yaga BK.
No, the thing is, like I just said, Waban, I feel like there's things in Dira. I feel like that just for me, yeah, they're there to build me and whoever I'm with.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, I mean, I can't say it's a bad thing or a good thing when other people are doing something else. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Everybody's living their lives, and I respect that. And same way, then I feel like people should respect how I do things. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, with me getting married, I just wanted it to be special for me and the one I'm with. You see what I'm saying? Instead of inviting
Chab.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So also,
but most of your friends have invited the Chab. So you've always been you though.
And I've always been.
Yeah, you've always been like your own type of person.
When you think of BK, you think of him being maybe at the back of the room.
Yeah, low key. You won't even know he's there unless we're out of town and we're on tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And then you'll see his true colors. Okay, but
so
it was a special moment for you.
Yeah,
I really respect that though. I mean, I think a lot of us can take a page out of that book.
Yeah,
and when are we seeing a little BK? I can ask that. So she's going to stay in the background forever. We're never gonna see your lady out, BK. BK Are we ever gonna see her out with you? Or
the thing is,
or she's cool with being there.
Yeah, she's okay with
being in the background.
Yeah,
I feel that.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
I wanted to wait for your awkward silence. I want to cry. I'm afraid of even asking you about the future for collections by BK Proctor because
yeah.
So but I'm still gonna just ask it because we're gonna wrap it up in just a little bit. What are the future plans for collections by BK Proctor and also your music? But come on, dog.
Okay, let me address the music issue. I'm actually in studio now.
I'll drink to that.
Oh, let's cheers to that.
I'll cheers to that.
Yeah.
Hold him to that. Hey. So what type of music are you looking to do?
I'm in studio now. I'm exploring different sounds.
Do you produce the adverts?
Yeah. Some of the adverts. Some of them.
All right. Cool stuff.
Yeah. Some of them.
They are dope.
Right?
Okay. Cool stuff.
So I'm making we are working on something. Yeah.
Okay. And
for sure it will be out whatever we are working on.
Hey.
Hopefully it's wrapped up soon.
Oh, Eugene also. What's going on with Eugene?
Eugene
Jackson.
Yeah, I think he's just about to release one of his videos.
Okay.
Yeah. His album is out there. His album is at the stores. The new one is
what's the relationship with him? I don't know. Maybe the next time we get him here.
Yeah.
Because I know he was doing a lot of work in South Africa.
Yeah.
Is he still in touch with that work or?
No, he's back. Home is where everything is.
He wanted to come home. Huh?
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah. So he's still working on his music. I mean, he still has relationships with the guys he was working with in South Africa. Can I go South Africa? Or he was in school. So obviously that came to pass. I don't know what I pass is gonna face. Can I school. Hey, oh, so
it was musical. It was music school.
So he was doing it. I think he enjoyed the time, his time being there, and he's learnt a lot.
I've seen him.
I mean, as a musician, His techniques now are different, have improved as well, because Naganaka Eugenie back in the day.
Yeah.
You see, so I've seen him also transition in terms of like
his vocal abilities and stuff as well.
So he's
wow, man.
Yeah.
What a great time to be alive. Okay, and let's get into the collections.
Yeah.
What are your plans for collections by BK Proctor? What can we expect? We're getting into the springtime. We're getting into the summertime.
I would say a lot of collaborations. A lot of collaborations for sure.
Awesome stuff.
With not only the corporations, but with individuals also who share the same vision as we do. You see what I'm saying? So we are actually open to that. I mean, the name Collections by BK Proctor doesn't necessarily mean a collection by BK Proctor. It's a collective of minds, different people, different. You see what I'm saying?
Ideas
a collaborative, collective sort of different minds and different people. You see what I'm saying? Coming together for one common goal. So for sure, we are like I was saying, we are open to like working with different people. Individuals who are creative. Yeah. So a lot of collaborations. A lot of concept stores.
Whoa, yeah.
Concept stores.
I hear that. Give the stores. See? Stores. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff, my nigga.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm leaving out. I mean, you want to tell me a little bit more about my Sisu? Ladies and gentlemen, this is called the BK Collections by BK Proctor. Sisu. I just watched a movie by the same title just the other day.
I don't know.
Bolai.
So Sisu actually means, persevering through adversity.
That's really
right.
Whoa.
So during COVID, I mean, these sneakers, we actually started working on them during COVID, because during COVID it was hectic. People were at home. People, we didn't know what the hell was going on.
People were passing on.
People were panicking. There was like people. You see what I'm saying? So I felt like at the time, then I was home. The stores were closed. Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
So we started working on the sneakers to say, you know what, when past COVID, if ever.
Yeah.
Right?
We didn't even know we would pass it, huh?
Yeah. Because it was that hectic. So you saw a lot of people whom you knew, just.
How do we survive the pandemic?
Yeah. That's. Cheers to that, man.
Can I
you see what I'm saying? So these sneakers were inspired by that. To say, past COVID, you want a particular sneaker that you can wear to say you can go through everything that you face in life in terms of you see what I'm saying? Like, and we were sort of advised to exercise a lot during COVID. So basically that's the inspiration of how the sneaker came about. We just had to name it Sisu.
I don't want to shut it down because I want to talk about there's a new lifestyle experience in Botswana. It's not really new. I mean, you're talking about health.
Yeah.
You have a couple of health attire.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call them.
Active wear. Yeah.
How did you get into that space? Is it because people are running marathons at night as well? Like, that thing is a big deal in Botswana these days.
It is. I mean, like you're saying, when people are health conscious these days, so you still want to create products that sort of like addresses that. Yeah. I mean, there's big brands who were set up solely for athletes.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So the idea of us having a department where we have like an active wear in the store is so that we sort of become like part and parcel of being helping in people having to sort of like express themselves through our clothing that helps them be active.
Culture thing. You assist in whatever culture is there. I mean, the streetwear is one culture, but like I think the gym buffs.
Yeah.
But they have their own culture. I mean, when I saw that run by night, I was like, damn, this is not a fly by night thing, but mind the pause. In the pun. But like, I just realized Botswana are really, really all about getting healthy and doing active stuff. Would you be interested in endorsing athletes? I mean,
most definitely. Definitely. I mean, with sports clothes, also what I've learned, there's a lot of technicality that goes into it. There's a lot of technology that goes into creating sports gear. So it takes time to actually build like proper, because you need to study the body. You see, there's so much.
This is the science to it as well.
Even the sneakers, the padding inside, it's a lot. You have to go through.
No, don't worry. You got this padding shit on point. I just want to talk about. I'm looking at you and you look so inspired, my nigga. Like, you look so inspired in that, like, it looks like this is like a rabbit hole that just keeps a gift that keeps on giving. You are able to learn more and more and more and become better and better and better.
I mean, if you look at our previous, before this active where we released the Leteisi sneaker. So the Leteisi sneaker is mainly designed for, Leteisi's. Although it's German, it's our pride. We are proud of the Leteisi.
All of this stuff.
And all the celebrations, and marriages, and all kinds of celebrations. So we figured, why not create a sneaker also that goes with that attire? You see what I'm saying? That's how we came up with the Leteisi collection.
Dog, when was the last time you saw a German wearing a Leteisi? You niggas need to chill.
That's a Botswana
with that
thing.
Like, we need to chill.
It's a Botswana thing now.
Hey, did you know it was from Germany? No. Schweinsteiger way up here, Papa. I'm going to shut it down right now. I'm so happy you came through. I for one, I'm really, really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You have your event coming up on the 5th of September. I'm going to be there, Francistown. You're going to go to, the capital city in the north. What should people expect if they haven't bought their tickets yet?
The tickets are actually not for sale. What we're doing is, because this is our 5th year, we're celebrating 5 years in Francistown.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll bring it back to Gaps. But
Gaps can wait sometimes.
So we figured, why not celebrate it where the brand was born? You see what I'm saying? So Francistown is the place to be on the 2nd of September 2023.
It's the 2nd, not the 5th.
It's the 2nd of September, Saturday, the 2nd of September 2023 at Riverside Deck. So the event is mainly to celebrate with people who have been with us, people who have followed us, people who have been our loyal customers for the longest of years, and people just who appreciate the brand. You see what I'm saying? So this is sort of like I can't say it's a show. It's a party. It's a celebration.
Yes, sir.
So for sure, I mean, it starts at 12 midday till late. So there's jumping castles, there's whatnot for kids. You can bring kids from 12 to 6, and then from 6 baholo.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So, and
I really hope people take the kids home at 6. Because, there'll be some people, you know what I mean? It's like, in
the car.
I really want Mama Kube and we put out, what the hell? So, we'll be paying attention. So the local corner is going to be there as well.
Yeah, local corner will be there. SCAR, Hansi, Benti, Vis-a-Vis. And you know what? Also, you look at the people who will be gracing the event is... I was talking about relationships earlier on because there's people I relate with. You see what I'm saying? There's people we've had relationships for the longest of time. So why not have such people come and celebrate with you.
Definitely, pa. Definitely.
So
I love it, man. There's so many people up in there as well. So please come on out on the 2nd of September.
Yeah.
It's happening in Kako Riverside Deck for Francistown. Yo, BK, thank you so much for hanging out with us, Papa.
Thank you so much for having me,
celebrating
bro.
our 10th episode with us.
Wow.
And this is to 10, 100 more.
100 more.
Shout out to Bartender
episode.
for the jizz. And yo, shout out to Local
and
Corner.
the H2O.
And the H2O as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, collections by BK Proctor. It's your boy SCAR. Check you out on the next edition of the PODI-CAST. We out. Peace.
Peace.
People of different identities. PODI-CAST with PSCAR.